Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today we're going to be playing some more Marlin. So we have some very exciting developments from the Calling Memphis. So we have two Marlins in the top 16, which is probably the best Marlin record I think we've had so far. So big shout out to Nate, who is a friend of the channel, also just been doing a lot of work on kind of like the 36 blue Marlin list. Like, I feel like a lot of the deck developments are kind of owed to him. But we also have another Marlin up at the top here in 11th place. So we have Chandler Toe. And he was running like a very different version of Marlin. So I want to kind of just jump into the deck list real quick. But very, like Nate's list is, I think, pretty similar to a lot of the lists we kind of covered on the channel before. It's pretty similar to the one that I won the Pro Quest with. But Chandler actually went into a very interesting direction. So let's go ahead and jump in the list. So what you'll notice about this list is that we're not on Crown and Dominion. Instead, we're running Honeyhood, but not running Honeyhood basically in every matchup. So basically, I feel like the biggest developments around Marlin are just trying to figure out to see if we can like optimize the head slot. So what Chandler actually opted to do was to bring in New Horizon. So this is actually a very funny card. It's a little bit of like Marlin history. So I think when the deck first came out, a lot of people were trying New Horizons, and the kind of like core issue with this card is just like very hard to set up a second arsenal with Marlin. Like the best ways to do it are typically like your quiver wrestling leaves or just like having any kind of like draw effects like big game trophy shot, portside exchange, but the draw effects are actually like pretty limited. But this is actually like a very powerful card, right? Blocks two, lets you potentially set up like an extra arsenal on turn zero, and a lot of other like really interesting kind of things. So this is actually kind of similar to what I was kind of doing in my ProQuest winning list. Basically, I was running Crown Dominion if I was going first, and then Honing Hood if I was going second. But this list is basically doing the exact same thing, except that New Horizon is what you're running going first, so you can try to high roll like double arsenal or something. And then going second, you generally want to run like Honing Hood. But yeah, otherwise, very, very similar list. We're also running, I think, take covers for Marionette, which are pretty cool. And a lot of main deck Arachne Hate, so running like Burdens of the Past. I think Chandler and I were talking about kind of like what do you change after the list, and he said he would maybe like move these burdens to maybe be like Whisper the Oracle or something. Like maybe that was an idea to kind of improve the hit rate on New Horizon, basically. So let me actually kind of just go in depth and kind of explain the math on New Horizon, because it's actually very interesting. I did actually a lot of testing last night just to kind of like try to get like a little sample size of like what the data on New Horizon is, because there is like some kind of RNG basically involved in the card, especially if you're running it going first. So I'm gonna have Tegan put up this information on the screen here, but basically I did like 50 practice hands of just this specific list on New Horizon. And what I was basically trying to measure is if you're going first on New Horizon, like how often are you able to actually like set up a double arsenal? Because it's not actually guaranteed. And what I found actually with the sample that I took, so I did basically 50 practice hands, went first, ran New Horizon, and just see like what percentage of hands with this specific list can actually like load turn zero and then set up like a good double arsenal. So what I found was basically to set up like a really good double arsenal, it's around 40-ish%. So you're the chance to like not whiff is basically roughly like 20 out of 50, so 40%. And then there is like a small percentage, like a 10% chance that you'll set up like kind of like a lowish value arsenal. And that's anything that's like two blues, like maybe like a blue plus a like a yellowfin harpoon or something like that. But overall, you're like roughly like 50% to hit that double arsenal on turn zero. And that includes things like Quiver Wrestling Leaves, drawing into like one of your enablers like Sift, Three Oak, Big Game Trophy Shot, like etc. So that's actually not too bad of odds. But the whiff odds are actually also quite high. So I think in that first sample I took, I basically whiffed 22 times out of 50, so roughly around 40%. Or it's 23 times out of 50. So roughly around 40-50%, somewhere around maybe like 45%. Which is definitely a pretty big downside. So like if you're not getting that turn zero arsenal with New Horizons, you're kind of like losing out on like you get the two value from the block, but you're losing out on having the consistency of the gold, which we know is very important. So this card actually presents like a really interesting trade-off. Basically, you're having to run these like main deck cards like Sift and maybe even Whispers of the Oracle, as well as Quiver Wrestling Leaves. So there's like a little bit of a deck building cost, but the reward is kind of interesting. So like you have like a high roll potential to basically land double arsenal, which puts you ahead on cards and like denies your opponent filtering, which is really interesting. That being said, also with New Horizons, one of the issues is that unless you're finding like a 3-oak or something on turn 0, you don't have like that high roll of just hitting your opponent for like 10 turn 1 if they're not like a deck that can block very well. So there are like pros and cons with New Horizons, I think. Like, it's basically a card that's like asking you kind of like a trade offer. Like, do you want to gamble on turn 1 to see if you can like set up a double arsenal and like not send damage? Or do you want to like set up a double arsenal, but there's maybe like a chance that you don't hit a double? Like, there's a lot of basically pros and cons to this card. Basically like 50-50 whether or not you are actually able to get like the super high roll value out of it on turn 0. So that actually makes it a really interesting deck building proposition. Now, again, I did some testing last night, just like playing some actual games with this list, and a lot of the games I was not able to set up the turn 0 arsenal, but I want to try to get some games today and see maybe it's going to be a little bit better on camera. Who knows? But I think it's actually like a very interesting deck building direction, I guess. Like you're basically playing a little bit of a like a gamble or risk on turn 0 for like a kind of reasonable reward. So we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. And again, shout out to Chandler for doing so well with this list. I also think that maybe Chandler has a lot more reps on the list than me. So like me playing the list doesn't actually necessarily mean this is bad. Like Chandler is probably the expert on running New Horizons, so I'll defer to him. Yeah, but anyways, let's go ahead and give New Horizons a shot and see how it goes. Also, just want to do a quick stream announcement. So I actually commissioned a friend of the channel, Melora, to actually record some Flesh and Bad intro music for our streams. So we've got new intro music, which is really cool. And I wanted to give a special thank you to Melora for putting that all together. It came out really great. And Tegan will probably play like a little bit of it here. Flesh and Bad. 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 But yeah, also just wanted to quickly plug all of her socials, so go feel free to follow her on all the stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and get some games. All right, we got a Dio. So unfortunately, this is not going to be a matchup where we're going to want to run the New Horizons because we want to go second. Let's go ahead and run the Honing Hood, Hook, Trench, and then let's bring in our Quiver. So Chandler actually really likes the Quiver in this matchup as well. Take Cover's interesting, but I don't think that's what he was using it for. I think he was mainly using it for Huntsman. So let's go ahead and just try it like this and kind of see how it goes. Again, Honing Hood into Dio going second, I think, is just a really powerful effect. Like, especially if we have like a hand like this, like being able to like Arsenal Trophy Shot or like 3-oak here is like kind of insane. The one downside is we do need to try to find some action here. Let's go ahead and block with the Sunken though. Might end up having to block with the big game trophy shot depending on how much they want to attack us here. But if Dio's attacking you on turn 1, that's generally kind of a good sign. Means they probably don't have a ton of items in hand, but it looks like they maybe ripped one off the top here. So hopefully the rest of their turn isn't anything too crazy. So I'm kind of debating which one is correct. Rocket also coming in. I think I actually like just getting rid of the Codex for now. As weird as that sounds, like we don't really need it. And we need to find an arrow as like our highest priority. Option 2 is we can try to get rid of the trophy shot, hold the Codex, and Arsenal the 3-oak, and then maybe that's like a better play. But this does let us go like pretty tall, which is appealing. So I guess the question is like, which one of these two do we actually want to hold on to? Codex is really high value against Dio, though. I think I'm going to prioritize trying to see more cards, as weird as that sounds. Like, Big Game Trophy Shot does draw us into another card, so, like, we do get, like, one extra look at a Harpoon. I think I've kind of talked myself into it. Like, I think the play is going to be try to Arsenal the 3-oak, and then play Trophy Shot, try to just dig for our first Harpoon, and just try to resolve it. I feel like I've had a lot of hands with Codex where I'll just like have Codex, but I won't have anything to get back, and then it kind of just like sits in your hand. You have like so many Marlynn hands that end up like that just like you kind of fear that, I guess. But it looks like we're just gonna draw the nuts, so that's good. Also, it's very funny that this deck is like main decking Ataya, which is a thing that I've wanted to do for like forever, but a couple folks in the Marlynn Council were just like, no, you can't main deck Ataya. That's ridiculous. But I actually really like that this deck main decks Ataya. think it's actually a very funny choice. So let's go ahead and pitch the port side here. I think I'm going to go a little bit greedy and try to just hope we hit the 6 resources because catch of the day is probably going to wreck them here, assuming that we do draw the blues. Looks like we did draw the blues, which is fantastic. So against Dio, we do have the choice between Kraken and Shark here. I always go for Shark because if their hand is like mostly items, then that hand kind of sucks anyways. So you generally want to try to keep Dio off the insane hands as opposed to like keeping them off the bad hands, right? But Kraken's still like reasonable because you'll normally hit something sometimes. But there are a lot of hands that Dio has where like she just like won't have an item in hand. So you do have to be like just a little bit cautious, but we are sending like a really nice turn here. So 16 damage with a tie on it. Not that it matters against Dio, but like still very impressive. Like the deck, like regardless of what hep piece you run, can still just do ridiculous things sometimes, especially with Honing Hood. Like I feel like the Honing Hood development kind of going second has just been like kind of a huge buff for the deck, it feels like. Alright, so now we're going to hit with our better Crippling Crush here, which is kind of nuts. So Crippling Crush that makes potentially up to 4 gold. Seems pretty good. Again, I sometimes like to always think of the Harpoons in terms of how many Crippling Crushes they are, and this is like, what, 1.5 Crippling Crushes? Seems not bad. Alright, so let's go ahead and ruin their life. So let's go ahead and start... What do I take here? I guess T-Bone is like mildly disruptive. I guess we don't really care. Maybe I'm gonna just try to hit the resources here. Yeah, let's try to hit the resources. Let's leave them with the... Let's take like T-Bone and 0 to 60. Is that maybe the best play? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I think it doesn't really matter a ton here because a lot of the cards are kind of redundant. But I like taking the blue just in case they have like a big attack they want to play from Arsenal, and then taking just something that like forces us to block, I guess, is like finally okay. Alright, so this is going to be a hand we're going to try to just pop off and send like 19 if we can next turn, which is going to be pretty funny. So I think our plan is to basically just crack gold until we hit blues or 3 oak. Which we have 2 in the deck, so like not super likely, but probably reasonable anyways. Again, we have a lot of breathing room here. Again, that can change a lot very quickly in this matchup, especially if they rip some boom grenades off the top, but overall I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. We do have some armor we still gotta chew through, but getting to like just basically like time walk them does feel quite nice. Especially going second. Oh my god. Alright, Chandler, this one's for you. We're going to absolutely blow them up and then swear by New Horizons, which we're not even running in this matchup, which is funny. But yeah, pretty good content arrows here. I'll say that. It's like some Dio high roll ASMR. Okay, so we did low roll very slightly here, but I think I'm going to just try to hold on to Codex. Okay, we're going to crack 1 more gold, and if we whiff, then it's not the end of the world. Okay, perfect. Now we get to keep our Codex in Arsenal, which is also great. And just get to send in for a casual 19. Average Marlynn turn. Not too bad. And this might not even hit anything from their hand, but damage is damage, as they say. I've actually kind of struggled on this matchup, especially if you really don't see your red harpoons early. So it is always kind of funny if you're able to just hit like the insane high. Like this I would constitute as like kind of a nuts high roll. Seeing 2 3 oaks in 2 turns, and then also just having like the perfect pumps to line up with the 3 oaks. Like hands like this don't actually happen all that much with this deck. Right, looks like they're just going to give us Crown of Providence, which means we have 1 less armor to deal with. And it seems like they're also going to just go ahead and ditch Pulse Wave. Love to see that. Again, Dio is one of those decks where she can just like absolutely blow you up out of nowhere. So we're not safe until she's dead, but I feel like we're in a pretty comfy spot here, I'd have to say. And notably, they did put a card on the bottom of the deck, so there is some Well, I guess Dio can only see the top card of the deck, right? So I guess they probably wouldn't want to do that unless they knew they were drawing into attack action. All right, let's go ahead and pass here. They're putting them to functionally 3, although they do have 7 armor still, so we need one more like really solid turn to put the nail in the coffin here. But yeah, pretty disgusting draw. All right, let's go ahead and take their spark here. So that must be the card they actually drew there, which is, I guess, a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, our opponent said they're lagging, but it looks like it'll be over soon, which is very funny. But yeah, this is probably one of the craziest Marlynn high rolls I think I've had in a while, especially against Dio, which is I think one of the more challenging matchups. I feel like this matchup is not as free as I guess I'm making this look here, or normally it's not. I didn't really get a great look at their hand, but I don't think it's gonna matter too much here. All right, let's go ahead and just take the damage. We're taking 4 here, maybe a little bit extra if they hit a boom grenade off the top. But yeah, pretty gross. Oh, notably with Teklo Trebuchet, the combat chain does have to be open to use this, which I guess means they can't actually Teklo Foundry Heart. That's kind of like an interesting drawback. Huh. Never actually seen that come up. That's pretty cool. Love to see cards like, I think Teklo Trebuchet is actually a really cool card in the sense that it's like a 0 for 3, but you do have to like kind of work for it at least a little bit. Like the card is very interesting from like a stat perspective. Like I think they actually did a pretty good job of like balancing the stats out on that. Let's go ahead and just eat the damage here. And then our next turn, we're going to just be trying to crack until we find any buff here, of which we don't have a ton left in the deck. I think we have roughly 7. So the odds are not super, super high, but reasonable enough. Oh, one thing that this deck is not also running is Murderous Rabble. Which is kind of funny. I think Murderous Rabble is like a pretty decent card in terms of just extending your like big turns, but like I feel like it's not super necessary, especially if you're kind of like disrespecting Gravy and stuff. All right, so let's try to find something that's going to let us kind of pump a little bit harder here, or at least set up like a second, like a nice arsenal. Okay, that will probably do, but let's go ahead and just pay for 1 more gold. All right, that's basically the perfect kind of hand that I wanted here. Actually, I did forget that we had the Codex in Arsenal, so maybe I shouldn't have cracked that other gold, but I think it still is fine-ish here. All right, so let's go ahead and pitch here. I guess we'll go ahead and discard the red fin. We could hold on to the red fin if we really wanted to, like guarantee we're getting a good arsenal, but I don't think it matters very much here. Yeah, seems like our opponent just like did not get a turn, which is kind of unfortunate. Yeah, basically the completely optimal Marlin game here. I don't think I could have really asked for better draws, but sometimes the deck just do that, right? Double Codex, double 3 Oak. It's pretty good. I think we blocked. Did we block with one of them? I can't remember. Yeah, I think we did. We blocked with one turn 1. But yeah. 2 3 Oaks and then 1 Codex, I guess, is we'll probably get the job done. All right, so they can block, I believe, 10 in total, so this should just kill. Unless I'm doing math wrong or they have some fancy Dio react here. Boom Grenade, unfortunately, will not block as much as we would like it to. All right, well, GG's opponent. Let's see if we can get some more. All right, Oscilio. So let's see what they do first. So I believe that they want to go second in this matchup. But let's go ahead and set up our trench. Chandler actually likes AB2 into Oscilio, which is kind of funny. So we're going to run the Bullseye Bracers as well as the Enchanted Quiver. And then this is going to be a New Horizons matchup. So let's see how this actually performs here. So the funny thing is I generally actually like running 8 Harpoons in this matchup. So I might go ahead and try that on Chandler's list. But I don't know if Chandler actually does that. What I'm maybe eyeing is like maybe cutting like overcrowded and where's Ataya? Like cutting these two and just going to a 34 is like where I'm kind of comfortable at, but I know a lot of people work for this matchup differently, so let's go ahead and just try this for now, I think. I think wait, also he might run AB2 in this matchup. Let me read his notes. I might be boring actually incredibly wrong, but I think that's how I normally board into this deck. Let me see what he wrote. I like AB2 and Enchanted Quiver into Oscilio. I run AB Chest for Vin. Bracers effectively acts as gold since you get the load, which don't forget Boots can flip an arrow for Arsenal potential spell void 2. Okay, interesting here. So we do not currently have a way to use our new horizons, which is unfortunate. But we do have a Yellowfin Harpoon, which is not bad. So let's go ahead and maybe just the filtering here is awkward because we don't have like a super clean way to get rid of our cards. What do we want to do here? I almost like getting rid of like double codex. Is that weird? That has to be wrong. I think we're just gonna pass it maybe and just see what they do. This is one of those hands where it feels really awkward. Could use our AB super early if we wanted to. Ugh, I don't know. This hand is rough. Especially with the code. Maybe I'm just supposed to get rid of the codexes. God, it feels so bad, but maybe it's correct. Yeah, let's get rid of the codexes. Just keep the harpoons in arsenal is maybe the best strat here. But yeah, that's pretty rough, I think. All right, so silly opponent starting with a 5-card hand here, which is not bad. Notably, they also are running Crown of Providence, which is going to make our shallow water a lot worse. Also, we don't have Hook in this matchup, which is going to be a bit rougher. But we'll make do here. I guess if they do attack, we do have Sunken Treasure, but that's still kind of awkward because that takes our blue. But I guess we could pitch the Cheating Scoundrel, which we don't want to do. So I guess the only real option with this hand is really to just block with Shallow Water on something. Especially since they're running Crown of Providence, like sending Shallow Water is like super low value. Oh, are they just gonna pop like turn 1? Okay. Uh then I think our plan changes a bit here. Like if they're gonna do this, like maybe I am just gonna go ahead and use boots or just like block 12 with this hand and just make them work for it. I think that seems reasonable. Again, Oscilio doing Oscilio things. It's pretty good. Oh, we probably, for what it's worth, should have blocked with the Sunken Treasure early. Oh, actually, the correct block is to not block the first chain link at all, right? In case they have CLV as a bounce target. So that's a minor misplay on my part. Let's go ahead and just keep blocking here. So I'm going to turn over their sigil just so they can't buy it back with the etchings here. In case they have it, which they might not, but just best practice. We are starting with a gold here, which is pretty decent. But yeah, always be careful about against Oscilio, especially just like make sure that you don't block Chain Link 1 if you have the opportunity to do so, which I think we did. Because if they play out CLV, then if they're playing out CLV as a bounce, then they're not getting card draw from it. If they're playing it out, when you're blocking 3, if they're playing it out, then they're basically getting like the full kind of value out of it because they're resolving the CLV and then they're also like functionally getting like 3 damage on you because you blocked early. Important thing to know. Again, everything micro optimizations here, but for what it's worth, I mean, this is only like a 5-card pop off hand, so like really not the worst case scenario for us, I feel like. I do think we want to try to block with this Catch of the Day on the next chain link, assuming that they resend the Ghana Flash, which I don't really see why they wouldn't here. I feel like if I'm the Oscilio player, I send Ghana Flash and then presumably play. Oh, I guess they would still need the Volzard pump. Oh. Maybe they can't send. Okay, they have Mind Warp. This isn't that bad for us, I don't think. We do have to like just AB just fine, but like probably not the end of the world. I mean, we just blocked this out functionally. So we basically took 10 damage off their combo turn. And they get full tempo, which is obviously not nothing, but like I think I could be in a worse spot, to be honest. All right, there's our King Shark, which means God, this codex still maybe a little bit awkward here. Oh, actually, what we could do, or no, we don't have our boots, do we? If we had our sea lace, we could have actually turned the elephant face up and then played codex, blocked with the King Shark, and then played a King Shark at them. That would have been pretty exciting. So from now on, it's going to be pretty hard to find a spot to use our French and quick dodge. But like maybe this is actually the hand if they're just going to be sending some damage, especially if they're like a higher damage deck. Then maybe the Fry is indicative of something. Like maybe they're going to have like a go wide turn. For what it's worth, we can also use the extra floating for AB if we need it. So I think I've talked myself into just giving the trench here because we don't know how many more turns they're actually going to have like wide attacks. It looks like they're also just playing out the CLV pretty preemptively here. So we'll go ahead and quick dodge. Again, they already used their kind of combo turn, so like the quick dodge trench kind of combo has kind of gone down in value a lot. Oh, it looks like we're basically getting full value kind of regardless of what they do here. Because we're always going to be able to AB. If they arsenal, then it's fine. Like, I'm pretty happy if we're just like blocking 5 here. Especially if they're just getting rid of their CLV, which I'm also very happy with. But I'd say that was actually like a pretty good trench, even though we didn't get like the full 7 value or whatever. But let's go ahead now and how do we want to do this? So we can bullseye. Oh, actually, this is kind of interesting. So if we give up the AB, we can load this face up, right? Or oh wait, hold on. Oh, I need to have a face up card to have the second arsenal. So that does not work. We would need some way to put a arsenal card face up and then do that. Okay, so I need to remember how News Horizons works. That's on me. Let's go ahead. God, I almost want to just overpitch the codex here. I feel like it's really not doing us a ton of favors. Let's pitch the Redfin as well, because I feel like King Shark is like pretty impactful, especially when we know they're on like Fry and stuff. I feel like not a lot of Oscilio lists are on like the Fry and everything, but maybe they're like doing like something kind of like kind of different build. So yeah, notably, I am boarding, not exactly how Chandler was boarding. Chandler, in his notes, basically said he's running 82 in Enchanted Quiver and Oscilio, and then basically just using bracers for kind of AB. I think he also might not even be running Quick Dodge in this matchup, which seems kind of weird to me, but maybe makes a fair bit of sense. All right, no yellows, but just glyph power spells, which you don't really care about. It looks like I was right that they're maybe a little bit more. I guess Blast and Flittering are both pretty common in normal Oscilios. But the glyph power spells are kind of interesting. I imagine we're probably just getting doinked here. It's not that bad, honestly. Like, we just get to... I don't even think I'm going to go for Throw Caution at all. I think I'm just going to try saying Catch of the Day. So we know they're arsenaling the Blast. All right, go ahead and just take it. We're really kind of running them out of resources here, and I feel like the returns they got are not super great. Let's go and see if they want to wobble this. If they do, I don't care. If they don't, then that's also fine. And that's kind of why I got rid of the codex, because I just like kind of wanted to respect wobble a little bit. One thing I also need to remember about Bullseye Bracers is that it is an action. So we do have to be like a little bit careful about, I guess, like the sequencing of it if we do end up popping it later. But it seems like we might be hitting them pretty hard here. Okay, no attack in hand, which is fine, but we do know they have Blast, and then their hand is kind of like whatever. Actually, the Somersault's pretty good with the Blast if they can like bounce the Conductivity or something. They might even go for the Bindings play. I just try to doink us with the Comet Storm. I would like to Enchanted Quiver, but I think if they order this, they do have the ability to um kind of amp the Sigil Wraither, so I don't know if there's actually a way to block that out. Yeah, this maybe is what they're going for here. I wonder if they do want to do it. Maybe they're fine doing this, so let's go ahead and Quiver, I guess, now. Which will hopefully stop the, like, basically gets our 2 value. I'm surprised they didn't, like, block with the Aether and then maybe just get the value there. Like, getting 2 value off your binding seems pretty, or, like, good enough, I feel like. Alright, so their hand is Storm Shot, Blast, and then the Somersault. Fortunately, this doesn't have Go again. So this isn't actually that bad for us, I think. So let's go ahead and say no blocks. So we're taking 4, and then maybe they play, like, Shock on the end of this, but, like, I think we're pretty fine with that, I'd have to say. Like, this hand just kind of seems awkward if they don't have, like, the embodiment already set up. They do go to 4 cards here, one of which is Blast, one of which is the Sigil. And then I guess they can just shock us. At least that's the play I see. But they would also need a blue or some pitch card. Like, one of these has to be a pitch card. So it looks okay. So yeah, if they are just bottoming 2 cards, we're pretty happy with that, I think. All right, so we're taking another 6, but we're still pretty safe, I would say. And then I'd like to ideally try to get a little bit greedy with the trophy shot next turn. So the fail condition on the trophy shot is that we draw a red, but a red is not the end of the world because we can just pitch the other red. So let's hope for anything that's blue or higher, or yellow or higher, I guess. All right, that is yellow or higher. They want to wobble the cheating scoundrel. I think I'm also fine with that. Not a huge deal. They could have almost gotten pretty close to wobbling the trophy shot. I think that they just needed one more sigil out to do that, but it looks like they maybe just haven't found their wobbles this game. But this should be a pretty nice harpoon. For what it's worth, I do think I miss the hook in this matchup. I feel like I've like just not gotten a ton of value out of the bullseye bracers, but maybe it's just a playstyle difference. Right, looks like we got some shock in here. So at least we're connecting and getting 2 gold, and they're only dealing 3-ish damage. So I think that's fine. So yeah, we have the tempo pretty hard here, and we're going to be making 2 gold on the back, which is fantastic. Cheating Scoundrel was such like a huge upgrade for just pirates in general. This card is like kind of broken. Funny card, but also a broken card. Also kind of surprised they still haven't given up the bindings yet. Like, I'd imagine if I was in the spot, I would maybe just try to pop it just to like see if I can just rando high roll. But maybe playing like a little bit safer or something. All right, let's go ahead and try to find. So I maybe at this point in the game want to try to arsenal these shallow water, but let's go for the King Shark here just so we can try to close it out. We still have 1 floating in case they do try to go for AB, but I imagine they're probably gonna have a hard time blocking this, especially since we haven't seen any D-reacts yet. So I imagine this is probably lethal, but anything can happen. They do still have like cloud covers and stuff, which I feel like most Oscilios should be running. I feel like we're winning this game on the back of them just having like a pretty weak combo turn. It looks like we did actually get our AB in. Maybe just a last little disrespect there. Okay, yep, seems pretty good. So let's actually see. Maybe they just like didn't see their wobbles, or they're not even boarding wobbles. Okay, maybe they just don't respect the wobble, which is fair enough. I'd love to see that. It looks like they're on like a little bit more of attack heavy. Like they're running like second strikes and also fries, which I feel like have been kind of like out of favor recently. The glyph overlay spells or glyph power spells are also pretty weird as well. All right, but pretty good game. Let's see if we can get maybe like 1 or 2 more. All right, we are thoroughly variety streaming at this point because we have a Tuffnut. Let's see how this goes. I feel like most tough nuts are not that hard of a matchup, but let's go ahead and run our honing hood, I guess, going second. Quiver seems fine. I guess we could run Abyssal if we want to hedge for fatigue, although I don't think that's normally an issue with tough nut. And I guess we can just throw in a riches if we're a little worried about fatigue. Let's try it like this. I've been hearing a lot of rumblings, not like real rumblings about Tough Nut, but a lot of like boosting spend dog level rumblings about Tough Nut. I think John was also playing Tough Nut recently. So maybe there's something there here to the deck. Maybe I need to put a little bit more respect on it. But it's gonna be up to this person to try to convince me here. All right, pretty strong hand in the opener. Rip off the top. Draw a card, then pitch a random card from your hand. If it has 6 more power, your next thing gets +3. Look up. All right, I'm gonna have to learn what all these cards do for the first time. If you have less life than a hero, this costs 1 less to play. Okay, so just come in for 6 here. So let's go ahead and just block. 6 seems easy enough. And we can go ahead and maybe just arsenal our codex here. Or actually, I guess we don't even need to pop the hood there. Maybe that was wrong. That's fine though. We will progress as normal. I probably should have popped the hood just to get a little bit extra value, but I guess since we have the load, maybe it's not the end of the world. Let's go ahead then and just codex. There are a lot of yellows in the deck, so me getting back the yellowfin harpoon is actually like kind of reasonable here. So let's go ahead and discard the gold tip. It looks like they're not really on fatigue. It looks like they're running like a pretty clean 60 here. Ooh, Scapskins as well is kind of interesting as opposed to the boots to the boards. But let's go ahead and just send in. I guess we could potentially threaten Sea Lace if we wanted to get cute with it. Sure, why not? This does threaten double Yellowfin, as funny as that is. All right, looks like they're going to just Thick Hide Hunter us, which is a pretty good card. So they get to functionally block 8 on this. They discard a card, which is actually kind of good in Tough Nut. But they do need some way to play out this card, so we'll see what their kind of action is there. All right, we get to Arsenal their Yellowfin, which I think is still pretty reasonable against Tough Nut. Ooh, red hit might not be great for them. Depends, I guess, what the arsenal is, but it looks like they maybe accounted for that, so they have their vigorous smash up. I think this is just going to be a hand where I just double shifting tides and go to town. Having access to 6 resources potentially is pretty appealing. If we wanted to get like not super greedy there, we could have actually just like blocked with one of them. But I think like I don't know, it's always nice playing out shifting tides and just like having back-to-back really insane turns. Again, we're kind of getting bailed out by these 3 oaks here. Interesting. So the codex is not great yet. So maybe probably just pitching it and trying to arsenal the cheating scoundrel here. We still have our gold load, or we got our gold off the riches here, so we get to throw the hook on this, which is great. For what it's worth, these 3 oaks have been kind of mid, but I did kind of fuck up by not loading with the honing hood on that first one. There was actually also no, there wasn't really a play we could have done. We could have like honing hooded the cheating scoundrel if we wanted to get an extra +3 on this, but I don't think that's worth it. All right, let's see if they have any yellows in hand. It might just be blues. All right, draws a victory, and then maybe just trying to hit a blue or a yellow off the top. That seems reasonable to me. The nice part about the shiftings here is that we're going to be able to block a decent amount next turn. Should be nice. Like, we're probably just going to be able to throw some of our blues in front of this here. And they've not got cheered yet, so that means that they're kind of relying on the top of their deck to do it for them. Let's maybe just go ahead and block with 1 here. See what happens. I don't actually know which is better between the blue and the red pin harpoons. All right, looks like they're also going to have to use their tunic here, which is a little unfortunate. But I guess that's what tunic is there for in Tough Nut. So let's maybe try to hedge and try to hold our blue. I think there's more blues in that deck generally, especially with like the Rockyard Rumbles and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and just block with our red pin here. So we're taking a fair bit of damage for what it's worth. But our draws have been also kind of mid. All right, so shifting tides together, kind of a mid shifting tides, but not the end of the world. All right, let's go ahead and just crack a gold and just load our bluefin here. We're going up an arsenal, but it should be fine. So I think we've seen 2 codexes at this point, 2 3 oaks. I feel like the draws have just been kind of a little awkward here. No gold made this turn, but that should also be fine. I think we're still kind of keeping pace here for what it's worth. But they have had some pretty good draws, I think. You need to just find our king sharks faster if possible. We'll see. I'd love to see them discarding wind up the crowd, or actually maybe that's bad for us. I don't really know. All right, Song of Sinew in hand, but we do get a gold, so not too bad. Once we get to chew through the armor, it should be a little bit easier to start making some golds. So they're probably gonna song here, stack a blue on top, and then maybe just send 8 at us. It's pretty all right. Yeah, lots of blues on top, so they basically have their option, basically any option here. We also now know that their next hand is going to be very blue heavy. Very interesting. Oh, they're coming for 10 because of the Song of Sinew as well. So yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and maybe just soak up a little bit of damage here, just so we're not getting too low. Yeah, like blocking out the seafloor and then maybe just trying to make a gold pin, have like a little gold to tip turn, just to kind of keep pace. That's going to make a gold fin here. Load. I'm probably gonna try to hold on to the one of the catch of the days for next turn, and then like worst case scenario, we can also like Honing Hood if we really want to do that. But I think I like just sending in 9 here. Again, I think their blues were kind of awkward, right? Like they didn't really want to. Ooh, Unexpected Backhand is also joinking us. I've never actually been hit by this card. I've seen it, like I know what this card is, and I've seen it, but I've never actually been like pinged by it, which is kind of funny. But also nice having a safe hook there. And we do have a red fin on top, so the catch of the day should be pretty good here. Ooh, Kraken also probably not too bad against Tuffnut either. They're running like a decent number of non-attacks, right? Like they run the Song of Sinews at bare minimum. All right, just going for the Wrecker Romp here. So it looks like they're not able to send the full 6, which is good for us. I think I want to maybe hold on to the shallow, so I think I like just taking a little bit of damage here, just so we can try to chain some harpoons back to back. I think that seems reasonable. Let's go for catch. Crack gold. A lot of pretty decent hits off the top. Right, burdens is not incredibly useful, so we'll just go ahead and pitch that away. Then they have 2 mites. They have 4 armor. I guess in the ideal scenario, if they draw like a thick hide hunter, then they could theoretically block this. So hooking is probably not safe just yet. I feel like maybe I could have gotten a little bit more aggressive with the hooks this game. But I think I'm gonna actually arsenal maybe the red fin here over the shallow, because I don't think Tuffnut really keeps an arsenal all that often. And they have a no hero stands alone. So we tie here, so that means that this is control toughness. Oh, so okay, this is functionally just a +3. +3, no relevant text. So I guess we did get a little bit lucky there. But it's still pretty good from our side. And the nice part is they're not really sending rock, which is like they're losing out on damage basically. That's pretty cool. They might try. I guess they might try to go for scabs here. Maybe that's how they get their extra damage. Oh yeah, they're able to. What did they reveal at the top? They reveal blue. That's pretty disgusting, actually. Or they get to do this and then play it off the top. It's pretty sick. So in that case, we might be wanting to use the Honing Hood for King Shark value here. And then just like block with the extra card. I think I kind of like that, but that was actually a pretty big scabs roll for them. So let's go ahead and Honey Hood the red fin back to hand here, load the King Shark. I think I like just maybe soaking up a bit of damage here. I don't want to get too low, but I think that absorbing a bit of damage makes sense here. All right, let's go ahead and Ataya, which I don't think is relevant against Tuffnut, but the King Shark should be. So this might hurt their hand, especially if they don't have blue on top, which would be ideal. I imagine this has to be at least a little bit annoying for them. I think this is also our first King Shark. First King Shark by turn 6 is pretty late on the whole. So I think here let's go ahead and just leave them with the blue Vigorous, I think is correct, because we don't want them to be able to play the red Vigorous, right? So in the ideal scenario, they pitch off the top, play the blue Vigorous for 4, and then we just get to have a nice crackback, hopefully. Yeah, so like in this case, they're only just sending in 5 here, which is great. We do still need to figure out how we're not dying, though. But maybe Redfin is part of that solution. Also just give up this and maybe try to send a Goldfin next turn. We do still have 1 Codex, which I think is live, 1 3 Oak, so maybe we just need to stave off a little bit of damage to kind of play towards those. I think I kind of don't mind that. Let's go ahead and maybe just send a Goldfin here. Alright, Cheating Scoundrel is fine, we'll get rid of that. I think they've had a couple of things that haven't lined up super amazing for us this game, so I wouldn't be surprised if we lose. So maybe I do have to respect Tuffnut a little bit higher. Ooh, they have the Thick Eyed Hunter here. Pretty good. I guess it depends how good their 1-card hand here is here. If like they have like a Song of Sinew or something pretty decent, then they're going to be able to crack back pretty hard. I guess they don't have Tunic up, so there's always, I guess, that risk off the top. Could also just be trying to set up an arsenal. Okay, yellow off the top. I think that's good for me. Okay, so I guess this is maybe some Tuffnut variants we're kind of seeing here, is that they just aren't able to kind of close out the game here. Maybe I need to like play towards this variance a little bit harder than I kind of was, but we are sitting in 14, which is not too bad here. I think I even like just throwing the hook on this because it's likely to hit anyways. And if we get another gold, we're not going to get like many other opportunities for gold here, I don't think. And I think I kind of like this. So they're probably going to like block 4, may give us some armor so they're not dying, and then see what their turn is now. Oh, also they whiffed both of these, which is pretty rough. Like basically losing, oh no, I think they maybe scoop up as a result of that. Oh no. I guess Marlynn is just better at clashing, maybe. But I think we got very lucky both of those times. So actually, okay, so this is a... but anyways, interesting deck from our opponent here. Maybe just didn't have things lined up the way they wanted to, but I think it seems like a reasonable Tuffnut list. I have not actually like kept up to date with it, but rip off the top, this one seems pretty interesting. Okay, so this is like a pen card. So that's maybe why I don't recognize a ton of these. But yeah, overall pretty cool. Seems like Tuffnut's still doing some things, which is very exciting. All right, let's see if we can get one last one. All right, so we got a Fang opponent. So a lot of people have been telling me this is a bit of a rougher matchup, so I have not gotten a ton of reps. But let's go and see how this matchup goes. So I don't actually know if this is a Trench Quick Dodge matchup. I feel like it kind of depends on the Fang list, but let's go ahead and bring in the Batarangs, cut our, I think Kraken is maybe correct. And then I think I also like Boarding and Riches in this matchup, but this is maybe like a little bit of personal preference. Let's maybe try something like this, I think. Kind of see how that goes. Now let's see if we can try to get our New Horizons value here. Okay, so we do have the Sift high roll on turn 1. So that is kind of funny. So let's, I guess, go for that. So we are going to be able to set up 2 King Sharks in Arsenal here, which is kind of nuts. So King Shark here. And then we get to Arsenal, another King Shark face down. So this is basically like the ideal opener for New Horizons. So this is like the strength of the card, right? Like a lot of your games, you're not going to be able to set up like the double Arsenal turn one, but like a lot of the games you will, and like those games just feel like so lopsided, which is kind of funny. So now we are basically like up a card, up 2 points of value, which is kind of nuts. Let's go ahead and just take a little bit of damage here. So I think the play on the next turn is going to be gold the tip and salvage the gold the tip, play a King Shark, and then just be left with the other King Shark. We specifically want to be left with the face-up King Shark, I believe. All right, looks like they're maybe just going to get a little bit additional value on the Brave Forge here, which is fine. They're only at one field, or they're on no fealty, just a bigger token here, which is great for us. Mainly because I think of Firm Loyalty, S-Speed, Chainlink 2. So it seems like they just had a really awkward opener, which we're going to try to capitalize on as well as we can here. Let's gold the tip, then we can salvage it. So turn over the gold the tip, that will give us hook. And then let's just send our face down King Shark here. So basically perfect, ideal hand. Kind of insane, actually, to just have like 2 back-to-back arsenals. Like this is the strength of the deck, is like that you get to have just these really insane setups. But this should, I imagine, maybe eating armor here. It's kind of hard to tell what kind of Fang they are, but we did see an overcrowded, so that maybe means they're more attack heavy. Always a bit hard to tell though. Again, like the Kraken and Shark thing as Fang highly depends on what the Fangs are doing, and I could not care less about what the Fangs are doing. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Like I basically just use whatever recent game I played against Fang as a basis for whatever Fang is playing. So it looks like they have an action here. They're running like reacts. Okay. We did chew through their armor pretty well here. It's good. So this hand probably wants us to try to cash in maybe some Sift value, or just some value in terms of blocking with the Sift, and then I think we're just going to try to send King Shark for 12 and just hope that works out. Maybe a little bit risky if they block here and they'd go for like a Tooth of the Tooth of the Dragon. Is that the card? I think in general they always kind of pump for at least like 2 or 3. It definitely kind of depends, because they could also just be doing kind of like nothing on the next chain link. You never kind of really know. But overall, I'd say we're in a pretty good spot here, especially if they are only on 1 fealty and then they're pitching the scar tissue as well. I generally try to measure my success in the Fang matchup by like how much fealty they have and how early. And if they don't have like 3 fealty by like turn 4, I feel like that's generally like a pretty good spot. All right, so let's go for the catch of the day here. For what it's worth, we could have maybe tried to start going for some value hooks here, but I feel like it's still a little bit early for that. I think I just want to disrupt them more than anything. But we do also need to try to find our battering bolts here, I think. I think if I was on no gold, I'd maybe try to go for a hook on this, but because we do have the 1, maybe we don't need it. Let's take a look at their hand and see what they got. So it looks like this is maybe more of a non-attack focused Fang, which means that these King Sharks are probably not going to be as good. But good info to know they have the Saber Bloodshed, the Sworn Vengeance, and the Hudson on this hand. So we'll try to keep that in mind. For what it's worth, they are going to have the Vigor token, which is going to make their first swing free. Yeah, pretty good setup from them. Might be the turn that we want to actually try to block with New Horizons, just to kind of cash in the value on it. But overall, like, New Horizons this game was, like, basically perfect. And then this cares about dagger attacks, so I don't think there's a reason to block the Blaze Headlong. But it looks like the Blaze Headlong is like another reason, or like an argument for King Shark here. How do we want to do this? I guess we want to block on the daggers ideally, because that's what's going to be getting the buff. All right, so this is coming in for +4. They have Tooth the Dragon, which will pump it to 5. And I think we want to just try to deny the mark if we can. So we know there are other card hands Hunt's End. I think if we block 5 here, we should be denying the fealty generation, which will also deny the saber bloodshed, right? In case they want to like pitch the hunts in for the second swing. It might just be trying to set saber for next turn, which I think is also pretty reasonable. But I feel like that was a pretty good opportunity to just cash in our armor to keep them off fealty. Like keeping them off fealty, I feel like goes a super long way in terms of just like overall success. So I think we might be going for a little bit of a gamble here, in the sense that we don't have an arrow, but we do have 2 gold that we can always crack in an emergency. So I think I like just kind of going for this. Kind of hope that we can find maybe just a battering bolt off the top or something nice, like a red fin would also be great. A lot of good draws, and we also have our tunic up, so I feel pretty comfortable doing this on 2 gold. But a lot of ways that this will backfire. It looks like we're not in that world just yet. So it's awkward here because we're pitching away our codex. Do we have a way around that? So I guess we could actually crack a gold here. If we hit a blue, that would let us keep our codex, which is a pretty big deal. So I think I like trying to go for blue here. Okay, perfect. We hit it. That is actually fantastic. Being able to hold on to codex here is going to be like pretty game changing for us, I think. We also get a nice free hook here from Riches, which is why I do enjoy it in this matchup. Notably, their balance is turned on, which is going to be pretty decent from them. But it does mean that we basically just get more cards to look at here, which is kind of funny. Hidden drawback, I guess, of balance. We still know that they are sitting on, I think, Saber Bloodshed. If I'm not wrong. So we're basically just going to try to take anything that marks from their hand if we can. If we do, assuming we do get to connect with this. But overall, I'd say we're in like a pretty decent spot this matchup. They're giving us like a ton of armor here, and they're not going to be able to keep cards to like really set up their fealty and stuff, which is great. So we might be losing the cheating, but we still get to keep our hook because we have riches, which is always nice. We can always steal that gold back, not a huge deal. Fang also notably does not use gold incredibly well. All right, so all the armor is now gone. We have a codex in arsenal. They only have a 3-card hand, so we're in a pretty good spot there. And now I think we can even just afford to block a bit this turn. It depends. Oh, what are they doing here? Do you want to do something end of my turn? Oh, we could get a little bit greedy here and try to give up on the yellowfin harpoon. I think I like maybe just holding the shallow water shark, and if we have to discard it, it's maybe not the worst thing in the world. Actually, let's probably get rid of this harpoon, maybe. Actually, it's funny, the yellow might actually be better for us to hold on to. Yeah, I think I've actually talked, because if we pitch a red off the top, then this hand can kind of fall apart a little bit. Kind of weird, but I think actually blocking with the blue here is maybe correct. So, assuming we have to like play around shifting tides, which is the biggest thing. So we have another 4 here. They have the saber still in arsenal. So we could just gamble and hope that we're not hitting a red. How many reds do we have left? We have 2 3 oaks, 1 shark. The cheating's in our hand, so we have seen roughly 5 reds. So the chances on the top of a red are quite low. If we hit a yellow, then we're also in a little bit of bad shape. It's kind of a gamble. I think I'm going to go for it, though. I feel like even if we hit a yellow, we can fix our hand with eye. Like, just try to find a blue with eye. I feel like this still makes sense, although if we do pitch a red here, I'm going to probably get punished and unlucky. Okay, so now actually this is not completely lost. We do just need to find a blue now. So maybe I got a little bit greedy there, but I also feel like I got like super punished there. Okay, so this works now. So now we can overpitch the red. All right, maybe don't get greedy, kids. But I think that was like a reasonable greed line, or in terms of like that was like the line that I think had the best math. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But we do get to resolve a codex, which is always great. And then I think the choice here is between the shallow water and the king shark. Since we know that their arsenal is like pretty good, I think I actually like going for the shallow water here, just to see if we can keep them off that saver. Like if we buy 3 cards from hand here and then we get to set up a battering bolt in arsenal, I think that's going to put us in a really good shape. And they are all out of armor, so the breakpoints on 9 are pretty awkward. At least from my perspective, it seems quite awkward. Yeah, maybe that maybe blocking with the shallow water and not trying to hold on to it was a little too greedy there. I feel like there's a lot of worlds where that play does work out, and we just hit the blue off the top, but maybe we should just hedge for not that though. It looks like they do have 3 cards in hand to block this. The only question, I guess, is are they going to have a card that's going to let them keep their fealty? You know that they only have the Saber in Arsenal, and then they need another card to play. Okay, I guess Pledge Fealty is one of the ones that would work there. How do we want to navigate this hand? Going off Arsenal feels like I want to Arsenal the Battering Bolt, so maybe the best play is to just send another 10 here. Seems reasonable, but a little bit sad. But this should be mildly annoying, again, assuming that they do want to just try to build up that fealty. Alright, looks like they'll give us a for the Drakai here. Maybe a couple reacts, I'd imagine. Okay, they're Pledge Fealtying. Seems good. Tooth, also very painful. Yeah, that's why Battering Bolt stays in the deck. Alright, for the Drakai. Overall, not too bad. For the Drakai, also is just a 0 for 4, so not too impactful for us. Alright, so we still got a little bit of work to do to kill this Fang, but we're, I think, doing pretty alright. We're going to be sending another Battering Bolt for 13 with a gold on the back of it, which is great. Let's go and turn over our Codex, because we're not going... No way to put it back, right? Alright, but now this is going to be the turn on whether or not we're going to be able to break their fealty. So let's go for the gold tip, pump, and then just send in our battering. Still have that Saber Bloodshed in Arsenal, so I feel like this could be pretty devastating if they like draw into me like the Last Tooth, Pledge Fealty, even just a hand that's full of like 3-block reacts could put them off of just like being able to use any of this really. Yeah, we could be in honestly very, very good shape here. Again, Nate was telling me this was a hard matchup, and I think it's just kind of the same matchup as before, right? Like, I don't think it's a matchup that's really fundamentally changed all that much since, like, pre-Compendium, and I thought that matchup was, like, kind of fine back then, but maybe it kind of depends on the Fang list. Like, maybe there are some Fang lists that do pretty well that are running, like... I think the version of Fang that we were maybe talking about was, like, a very heavy D-React version of Fang, and then that seemed, like, pretty brutal. But I think if they're on just, like, a bunch of, like, the 2-block reacts, it seems significantly worse. It looks like they maybe are going to hold on to the Sworn Vengeance just so that they can keep 2 fealty around. Seems pretty brutal. Yeah, it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do here. So that feels pretty rough from the Fang side. All right, let's go ahead and go for our 3-oak here. We might not actually end up pitching the Goldfin here. It depends on what we draw. All right, Battering Bolt, we are absolutely pitching the Goldfin. And then here, go ahead and 3-oak. But yeah, the New Horizons this game was, like, incredible, I think. Like, very, very good. Also, I don't know if we had the opportunity to play on Shifting Tides. I might have missed that there. But not the end of the world. Alright, it seems like they're maybe just going to scoop it up on the back of that. Yeah, just basically we're able to kind of keep them off fealty, and then their hand just, like, does not block very well. So, like, looks like they're maybe blocking for 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, so like 9 in total. We get to just dome them for another 5. They lose their fealties, and then they just cannot catch back up. So overall, I think Fang is still like... I think it's still like a fine matchup. You do just have to practice a little bit and just kind of like know like what your win con is. And your win con is basically making them lose their fealty, making them have terrible turns. Like that's basically the win con. Let's actually see if this is more of an attack action Fang or a non-attack Fang. It looks like it's very slightly slanted towards attack action, so maybe that still makes a King Shark a little bit worth it. Especially a lot of their like 0 for 4s are attack actions, so I think I still like King Shark in this matchup. But again, the Fang matchup kind of changes a lot, so you kind of have to be a little bit, I guess, a little bit cognizant of what they're doing. All right, but anyways, that's going to be our games for today. So again, thank you to Chandler for your excellent performance in the Calling Memphis, as well as your Bass Pro Slop list, which I love the name. I think Chandler was also talking that he wanted to try to see if he could get this name on stream, which I think is also like hilarious. But anyways, I think this deck is really solid, and we saw in that very last game against the Fang that the New Horizons was actually incredible. Like that's like the value proposition of this card is that like it's almost like a high roll card. Like if you can just set up that nuts like turn one, like this card is like insane. But if you don't, then you kind of like hurt the consistency of the deck. So it's like I think that it might just be a preference thing at this point. Like it's hard to say which one's strictly better. But consistency is always good. High roll is always good. Like there's definitely different value propositions between New Horizons and Crown of Dominion. But anyways, very, very solid list. Again, we're going to probably talk more about this list on the video that we're going to be recording for Friday. So we're going to try to get the Marlynn Council together and just talk about all things Marlynn. So we'll probably talk a little bit more about this list then. But yeah, again, thank you, Chandler, for the list and letting me play it. All right, but anyways, really cool list. I think that there's still a lot of really good Marlynn experimentation to kind of be had. And, you know, Marlynn, despite being solved by our Marlynn video all that time ago, still finding like new ways to innovate, which is really cool. So anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.